I'm pretty sure most of you heard by now that Dr. Cornel West has announced that he is running for president for 2024. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you, because there was a time, these should be flopped. There was a time when I brought up this idea. I think the first person I brought this up to was Aaron Mate, actually, of all people. We were talking about third parties. So this was over a year ago. I brought up this idea of what if it was someone like Cornel West. So we're going to go all the way back, and we're going to start from the beginning and show you where we are now. And no, I did not recruit Cornel West to run for president. Just making that clear. But listen to this. It's just interesting how things turn out.
Right. I think it could work if you have someone who has large name recognition. It has to be someone that everybody knows. Yeah. And I'm just going to throw this out here. This person has never said this, but for example, someone like Cornel West. Yes. Someone that everybody knows, like it has to be someone big. I hate to say it, but it's true.
If it was Dr. West, that would be incredible. I don't know if he wants to be a politician, but someone like him, someone as eloquent and as principled as him and as charismatic. I mean, someone like him would be perfect.
Now that was, what was this video? Geez, this is a while back. That was 1 year ago, streamed 1 year ago. Okay. So Aaron said he wasn't sure if Dr. West wanted to be a politician. So I decided to ask Dr. West myself, and I did. So this interview took place 8 months ago. So here we go. And actually, I think that interview with Aaron was more than a year ago. I think YouTube is just rounded off. So I asked him myself, listen to what he said. Would you ever consider running for president as a third party or independent candidate, and why or why not?
I mean, I'd do anything to try to enhance the situation of poor people and working people. I'd sing a song in the shower. I'd get my violin out after playing for 20 years, classical violin. I haven't played in 40 years, but I would play a new song if I could contribute to the plight of poor and working people. It's just that when you look at the, look at it, just how, what's the right word? I mean, just how corrupt the system is, though, that you have to think long and hard as to whether you really, really want to become a bona fide member in it. I mean, me and Brother Bernie had long talks about this, because I love my brother dearly and he loves me. But we had real disagreements on a lot of things, you know, in terms of the Middle East. I mean, he's very critical, of course, of right-wing Zionism and so forth, but I'm critical of, in a much more broader and substantive way about that in relation to Palestinians. He's done been progressive on a whole host of crucial issues. You know, Wall Street as strong as he can be. But I'll tell him, what is it like just to be inside of the halls of that level of legalized bribery and normalized corruption? And you know, Brother Bernie is, well, it's not easy, brother. It's not easy. I said, I don't know if I can live my life like that. And the same would be true for running for any kind of office. On the other hand, if it's just an effort of education and consciousness raising and so forth and so on, who knows? Who knows? But what did Brother Chris say?
So I told him earlier that I also asked Chris Hedges this same question. I was asking everybody this question. He said no. He said the Green Party did ask him one time before, and he said that he thinks he feels like more comfortable like doing what he does now than doing something like that. Same thing you mentioned about the corruption and stuff like that. But okay, so to answer Aaron's question, it turns out that Dr. Cornel West apparently does want to be a politician. I was very surprised by this announcement, though, even though I showed you those videos. That was a while ago. I was surprised by this announcement. JB hit me up via text and said, check the group chat. And I was like, I was awake, but I wasn't fully alert. You ever have those mornings like you're awake, but you haven't had like your tea or your coffee yet? I hadn't had my tea yet. And I looked down at the phone and I was like, what? So Cornel West did make the announcement that he is going to run for president, not through the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, but through the People's Party. And here's that announcement video here.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
All right, so that was his announcement there, and people definitely lost it yesterday on Twitter. It has over 17.2 million views, and of course, Chris Hedges actually this was the first one I saw that dropped the article. He was on it, of course, and he said that Dr. Cornel West announces he is running for president. Now, I'm not going to read the entire article because I want you guys to read it. Sorry, a little bit of homework lesson here. But one of the things that really stood out in this article is that it is very clear that Dr. West has changed his position a little bit in reference to the war in Ukraine. Now, in a positive way, he is calling for the disbanding of NATO. When I interviewed him, he understood like both sides of it, but he also felt like, I think at that point, I don't think he understood everything that the gray zone has revealed, that Seymour Hersh have revealed, like those types of things. And he has moved further now to say like NATO's got to go. So shout out to Chris Hedges for dropping that, that bombshell as well. And I'm going to show a couple of different clips here. He made the first interview announcement on Russell Brand's show, and I think some people were surprised by that. They were like, why announce it on independent media and not mainstream media? Have you seen the way that mainstream media has treated people that are trying to challenge Joe Biden? I wouldn't have announced it on mainstream media either. I think, give that attention to independent media. Plus, Russell Brand has an international audience. Russell Brand has over 6 million subscribers on YouTube. He's blowing up on Rumble. So it makes sense that he would choose to announce it over there. There's two clips I want to show you from this discussion. The first clip is in reference to his platform, which I think you will want to see. Let's get into that first.
Well, one, I am a thoroughgoing abolitionist when it comes to poverty and homelessness. In fact, I told my beloved wife that when I win, and I intend to win, my attitude is I don't want to even go into the White House until every fellow citizen has a house. She said,
that's a good point. His presidential pledges challenging the corporate duopoly and building the People's Party as a major alternative to the parties of endless poverty and war, fighting to get money out of politics, guaranteeing health care and a living wage, smashing the surveillance state, abolishing mass incarceration, protecting the environment. And it goes into more detail on the website.
Oh, that might not be too practical. Well, that's the spirit that I proceed. That is the attitude that I have. That office is simply a vehicle to pursue truth and justice that begins with abolishing, completely eliminating poverty and homelessness. It has to do with a commitment to a strong support of trade unions so that living wages becomes a reality for every worker, no matter what color, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what region. It has to do with access to health care, Medicare for all, the very thing that my dear brother Bernie Sanders made so much of, and rightly so. It has to do with a tremendous indictment of the greed of the 1% at the top in ways in which we can get some accountability. I love your talk, Brother Russell, about decentralization. I think you're absolutely right that the state has become captured by corporate power. And I know my dear brother R.F. Kennedy talks about that, Jr., and he's right as well. We resonate with the ways in which the state has been captured by corporate wealth. But the question becomes, how do you empower everyday people and working people in such a way that it doesn't reproduce centralization that tends to reproduce domination? And here we need to bring together some of the best minds. I'm not in any way suggesting that I have definitive answers. As a jazz man in politics, I know, just like Mary Lou Williams, the Duke Ellington, the Count Basie, I need a band. I got to have a variety of different voices, and they come in all colors, they come in all genders.
So that was very well said. And then another thing that Russell Brand brought up, which I think is really a great question to ask. So Russell asked this question, so I don't have to ask you now. So Russell, thank you. I can, because I have so many questions. I'm like, that's one of the questions I can take off my list. But and that's in reference to the media. How are you going to deal with the media? And I want you to hear Cornel West's answer to that. First of all, I got a shout out on here, which is really interesting. I was surprised by that, but listen to what he says in reference to how to handle the media and the way the Democratic Party is going to go about this.
People, I feel for a long time, there's been a real appetite and need for significant change. The figures that I've just listed, all in their way representing it. You worked with Bernie Sanders, who I know a lot of people feel was sold out, having voted along with militaristic policies since the election of Biden. And perhaps Bernie would have been better off remaining an independent. Do you feel that with the media operating in the way that it does, you will be given the sufficient opportunity to convey these points and indeed to build the band and make the alliances necessary for an undertaking like this? For if institutional or centralist politics means anything at all, it is the ability for these systems to represent the needs of those who most need it and to regard as important the individuality and freedom of people from across the cultural spectrum of America, people that have traditional perspectives around their religion and the way they want to organize their individual societies, people that have very progressive views. All of these voices have to be heard, and indeed for those kind of policies to be implemented, it seems, as you've just alluded to, that decentralization would have to be a significant part of it. Are you willing to be the voice and carriage of an ideology that to a degree would be dismantling many of the corrupt deep state institutions that have brought America low, to break down some of the relationships between corporate interests and the democratic institutions that have meant that it's almost impossible for the voices of ordinary people to be heard? It seems like you said in your answer earlier, these are the kind of ideas and words that get people killed, and that require, I think, a great deal of support. Before you answer, should we leave this and go exclusively onto locals for our locals community before we get Dr. Cornel West? I'll leave it to you. What do you think, Gallery, or do we stay on Rumble? Should we stay on Rumble for the audience? We'll stay on Rumble.
Just to answer that question for those who are not aware, I saw someone just ask that question in the chat. Is this interview on YouTube or just Rumble? I couldn't find it on YouTube. I thought it was going to be there and it was more like the first part of the live stream, but I only saw the interview on Rumble. That could change. Maybe they just haven't added it yet, but so far I only saw it on Rumble. They still continued this interview on Rumble, by the way, when Russell Brand is asking, should we move to locals? They continued it on Rumble. It may be on locals as well, too.
Now, but do join us over on locals. We'll see if Dr. West has time to join us a bit longer. So could you please answer that question for me about what do you think those voices that were talked about change from Obama through to present day mean? And are you happy to carry a message that that is by its nature truly radical and therefore dangerous?
Well, the good news is that we have shows like your own. We got Sister Amy Goodman. We got Sister Sabby. You got Sister Brianna. You got Brother Tad.
I couldn't believe I got a shout out on this mofo, man. I was like, really? I was like, what? Someone messaged me and said your name was mentioned on Russell Brand's show. I was like, whoa.
You got Brother Roland. You got a network of people that are trying to allow certain voices to have impact without being completely devoured by the corporate media. And the corporate media now is experiencing a level of legitimation crises, very much like the Republican Party's establishment that went under as neo-fascist Trump moved in, and the establishment of the Democratic Party that we almost pulled off with Brother Bernie. We almost pulled it off, and then they all came together. The call from Obama,
Yep.
Pete drops out, Amy drops out. Next thing you know, they said anybody but Bernie. Why? Those corporate interests were being challenged. Why? Those militaristic policies were being at least examined. I wish Bernie was even more radical when it comes to militarism, but that's all right. He's always my brother. I can disagree with him and still acknowledge that I have my own calling and I go my own way. He played a very historic role. It just didn't go far enough. He missed that moment, and this is my own view about this thing, but he still plays a very important role.
So I thought it was important that he said that he acknowledged that Bernie missed that moment, and he acknowledged that publicly. Some people still aren't willing to do that. They're still not willing to do that. There seems to be some type of hesitancy to say that about Bernie Sanders, but it is the reality. Jesse Ventura has said that publicly multiple times, but to hear Cornel West say that and knowing that he's pretty close to Bernie Sanders, I think that was a telling sign.
I always like to begin with the good news, though, brother. The fact that you've got all of these millions of people around the world listening to your powerful voice and vision and calling for the enabling virtue, which is courage. Because without courage, all the other virtues are empty. And by courage, we're not talking about self-righteousness. This is not a self-righteous campaign. You can't be a self-righteous jazz person. You have to be humble. You got to learn from people. You got to
learn from people. And I think that's something that I will say I have noticed. It does seem like Dr. West is willing to at least hear you out, even though there may be disagreements. When he came on last time, I told him that Joe Biden was fascist, and we disagreed on that at that point in time. I think he may see things a little bit differently now. But I told him, I said, well, I think that Joe Biden is also a fascist. I don't think it was, that's just something that exists on the right. And I gave specific examples. I gave the crime bill. that he co-wrote with Strom Thurmond. You know, I gave examples of some of the remarks in reference to that Joe Biden has made about the African-American community before, yada, yada. Like, you know, I still have a very strong reservations about Joe Biden. But that being said, some people were wondering if mainstream media would ignore him. People were like, oh, they'll just ignore him. That's actually not happening. In fact, mainstream media covered this immediately once it was announced. Cornel West was trending on Twitter. The People's Party was trending on Twitter. And this just goes back to what I said to Aaron Mate in the first clip I showed you in reference to the story, where I said it needs to be someone with a big name. And that's the thing. If you're going to do third party and you really want to get the message out, it needs to be someone that most people have at least heard of. Most people know who Dr. Cornel West is. A lot of people love Dr. Cornel West, and not just people from his generation, not just people that are in academia like him, but I mean older people, my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation, younger people love Dr. West. He just seems to, it's like his message and his presence he's found a way to be able to talk to people across all different spectrums, and he's still respected at the end of the conversation. And that's not easy to do. So he's found a way of doing that. Now, to my point about mainstream media coverage, they have covered this already very quickly. And I want you to hear what's said on Fox News, how they think that this actually may be a problem here for Joe Biden, even though he's not running through the Democratic Party and Cornel West is choosing to run third party. Listen to what they had to say on Fox News. I think this is interesting.
Happening on the left, I think, is a little more fascinating, maybe.
Laura, look, there's a clearly growing disenchantment with Joe Biden as the Democratic candidate, and it's coming from the left. RFK Jr. has already jumped into the race. He did a big Twitter interview today. Well, now Cornel West is throwing his scarf into the presidential ring.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. Neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Do we have what it takes? We shall see.
We shall see indeed, Laura. Look, this is a threat to the president. As an African-American leader here is challenging him in a third-party run. And Biden needs black voters to win re-election. As Congressman Donalds was telling you a moment ago, black America has been taken for granted, and nobody else is talking about these issues.
Yeah, but let's not pretend like all of a sudden Fox News cares about black Americans being taken for granted either, okay? Let's not sit here and pretend that all of a sudden you guys care about, you know, us being taken for granted or whatever in this country. Let's not go down that road. All right. Okay. Gotcha. Now, what's really interesting is he said that Biden needs black voters to win. I would reframe that. I wouldn't say Biden needs black voters to win. You got to hit it at the party. But I think this rhetoric is done on purpose. The Democratic Party needs black voters in order to win. That's what you say. You make it very clear that the entire party needs for that to happen, not just Joe Biden. It doesn't matter which Democrat is in the seat. The party needs you in order to win. I would have framed that differently, but let's go on.
RFK Jr. and Cornel West are going to push issues that Biden has been trying to cover up for years.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Biden's never going to debate them, and the media will do their best to ignore them. But I've got to say, Cornel West, he ticked off all those issues, and I'm thinking, okay, surveillance state, Pentagon, Ukraine. I agree with him on probably all those issues. Remember, he used to come on the radio show where the show a while ago.
I know, and he's been on this show with us, Laura. And RFK Jr. is going down to the border for 3 days, something Biden certainly doesn't want to talk about. We'll see if the Democratic Party begins to look anew at these issues and if they make a difference.
Never.
They ain't gonna make a difference. Democratic Party isn't gonna make a difference. Again, they answer to the military-industrial complex and Wall Street. Now, as you can imagine, people have already taken to social media criticizing Dr. West, and I'm talking about people who praised him when he worked on the Bernie campaign, criticizing Dr. West because he's not running through the Democratic Party instead of applauding him for not running through that, crazy rigged party. Criticizing him because he's choosing to run with People's Party and not the Green Party. And I want to say something about that. What was interesting to me, not everyone, but some of the people who were criticizing him for running through the People's Party and not the Green Party, some of these people are the same people who have spent years criticizing the Green Party and saying they're not viable. Like, this was hilarious to me. When I'm seeing this on Twitter, I'm like, really? Because for the past 2 years, you've been complaining how the Green Party is trash and it's not viable. Now, all of a sudden, Cornel West is running through the People's Party. Now you say, Dr. West, I really love and admire you, but I wish you would have ran through the Green Party. The same Green Party you told me a couple months ago was trash. There are a lot of operatives out there, folks. There are a lot of them. And I told you a while back, I did not believe all these people that said that they exited actually exited the party. I didn't believe that. And now you're starting to see people's true colors. Now, this is not to say that the People's Party doesn't have issues. I'm not fond of the People's Party either. My main issue with the People's Party is Nick Brana. And we've had that discussion on this show. And I've interviewed Nick Brana on this show. And for those of you that saw that interview, I have many criticisms. But my main criticism of that party is Nick Brana. The Green Party has issues. We've talked about this on this show with Green Party members about how the Green Party rigged their primaries for Howie Hawkins. We've talked about that. I talked about it with Green Party members. I talked about it with Jesse Ventura. Hello. So we've had that discussion on this show about the Green Party too. It was just really funny to me that all of a sudden these same people who hated the Green Party and said it was worth nothing were like, you should run through the Green Party. People are starting to really reveal themselves. I'm just keeping it real, because the same people who have told me that they're supporting Marianne because of the issues, the platform, I'm starting to see, which is what I thought, it was mainly just because she's a friend, or mainly just because you like her, you know her personally. When you look at Cornel West's platform, if he's also running on Medicare for all, but he's also pushing against the surveillance state. He's anti-war. If you look at his platform, Marianne's not. And in my opinion, his position on Israel and Palestine is the better one between Marianne and RFK Jr. Let's remember, he was refused tenure from Harvard because he supported the Palestinians' right for their movement. It takes guts to do that. So it's very revealing, folks. It's very revealing. People telling me that they were not supporting Marianne because they like her or know her. It was just because of the policies. Well, if it's just because of the policies, and you have agreed with me that you don't like her position on the war, and you don't like her position in reference to Israel and Palestine, but you do like Dr. West's positions, but you're like, no, I'm still going to vote for Marianne. It was never about the policies, boo. It was about your friend. Everybody's showing their whole ass. Excuse the language tonight. And that includes Crystal and Kyle. Caleb Maupin, someone sent me this. Caleb Maupin really went at it. I'm not going to show this whole video clip that took place here. I don't want to do that to you. But this piece here that Caleb brings up, Jesus, I don't know if I agree with everything that he says, but listen to this.
When it comes to Cornel West, I love Cornel West. We had him on Crystal Kyle and Friends.
Yeah, everybody loves Cornel West. And that's why you have to deal with the cognitive dissonance, social media being rigged to tell you to hate the People's Party. and them nominating a guy that everyone loves.
He's a hero of mine.
He's a
really.
Oh, he's a hero of yours. He's a hero of yours, right? You know, so many people love him. You don't want to attack him, but that's what you're doing. You're smearing his election campaign. You're smearing the party that he chose to run with.
Respect him, yeah.
And
we like him. And look at how her face goes down. Look at how Crystal's. Oh yeah, we like Cornel West. They don't like Cornel West. They don't respect Cornel West. No, they don't respect Cornel West. But they know they're not going to gain any points by attacking someone that progressives love. So, oh yeah, we love him. He's a hero of mine. We're so important in our sunglasses. We're so sexy.
Right. It's easier to attack and criticize RFK Jr., at least for them, because his base is a little bit, you know, kind of all over the place. He has people on the right that support him, independents that support him, you know, so it's a little bit easier to take shots at RFK Jr. than it is for Dr. West. Whew.
Oh.
Love how he's really good at going into spaces where like people would disagree with him and making himself be really likable and really agreeable while not.
Oh, she totally means that. Yes, he does an amazing job. She's looking down with her sunglasses. She hates Cornel West's guts.
While not like giving up his principles at all.
Yes, this is the stuff we practiced saying beforehand because we don't want to alienate everyone who loves Cornel West, but we hate his guts. This is what we, you know.
He did a great job on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's just a very dynamic, charismatic.
I'm sorry. He did a great job on Joe Rogan's podcast. You do realize Cornel West has been around for decades, right? He's been doing stuff since the 80s. You know, he was key in getting stop and frisk ended in New York City, leading acts of civil disobedience.
He also worked with the Black Panthers. Like, he wasn't a Black Panther, but he worked with the Black Panthers. And it was just kind of funny. The first thing that popped into Kyle's mind was he did a good job on Joe Rogan's podcast.
You know, that's what you got. He was good on Joe Rogan's podcast. Really. That's what you got, Kyle. That's what you know about Cornel West. He was good on a podcast one time. You know, this is one of the most well-respected Black intellectuals in America, has been arrested many times in civil disobedience protests, is an outspoken advocate of socialism, critic of the prison industrial complex, someone who's been fighting for low-income African-American people for decades. But, you know, he was good on a podcast one time. And we've been told we can't just take a dump on him. We're going to make this about Nick Brana. Okay. Ugh.
Intelligent guy who I happen to agree with on.
Oh my God. Like, so condescending. Yes, he's a very intelligent guy. You know, why don't you call him well-spoken too, right? He's a well-spoken, intelligent person, right? I mean, this is such condescending white liberal shit. I saw him on a podcast one time. He did a good job. He's intelligent. Yeah, he was intelligent. I was surprised. You know, Black people usually aren't intelligent, but, you know, he was good on Joe Rogan's podcast one time. This is the most smug upper class liberal while they're driving their SUV down the highway, you know, mad that someone's running against the Democrats. This most smug white liberal condescending shit I've ever heard, you know?
Probably 90%.
I wasn't used to seeing this side of Caleb, just FYI.
Of policy stuff.
Yeah.
So I love Cornel West.
I love him. Yes. NPR. I love Black people, right? I mean, that's the trendy thing to do now. That's woke, right? Black Lives Matter. Word up in the hood.
I love Cornel West.
Oh yeah. I love him.
But honestly,
yes, we love him. We love Black people. That's the hip, cool thing to do now. That's why we're driving down the road in our SUV. That's why we vote for the Democratic Party, because we're totally woke, brother. You know, that is how it is, right? We hate low income Trump red state people. Trust us. You know, I mean, if we could shoot somebody in the NRA, we would totally do it. We wouldn't buy the gun first because gun ownership is totally racist. But oh yes, we love Black people. He did a great job, a tremendous job on the Joe Rogan show. When he went on that Joe Rogan podcast that one time, I saw him talk, and it was just utterly amazing. Oh my God, oh my God, let's go drink some latte.
Theory on this, and I'm curious what you think, Crystal, is that I don't think he looked into the People's Party at all.
I'm just going to pause there because this was probably the most hilarious part to me. Guys, Kyle says he doesn't think Cornel West looked into the People's Party, Cornel West spoke at the People's Party convention. I'll show you the picture in just a second. At one point, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm not mistaken, I thought at one point Dr. West was a part of the board of MPP. So either they didn't do their research or they did know that and they're purposely lying. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that was really bad. Again, people have their criticisms of People's Party, but how do you not know that? Oh boy.
Right. I just think this black guy is so stupid that he never looked into the party he decided to run for office on. It's not his fault. He's being manipulated by, evil communists, right? It's not the black people that are protesting for their rights. It's those outside agitators from New York City that are coming down there and stirring up the black people. They were all happy before the civil rights movement got going. But, Cornel West is just clearly not intelligent enough to know what party he's running on. It's an evil communist agitator named Nick Brana who manipulated good Cornel West into doing what he's doing. We love Cornel West, but he's been duped. He's been duped into doing this. Good Cornel West would support Biden, but I mean, this is the most condescending, racist, white ass shit I've ever seen.
You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think it's sort of like a boomer moment where...
Yeah, he's calling Cornel West stupid. Can you believe this? He's basically saying that Cornel West doesn't know what he's doing. Cornel West.
This is so embarrassing because Cornel West spoke at the People's Party convention, Kyle. He was on the board. Yes, thank you, Eric. I thought so. The advisory board. Thank you. This is so embarrassing. So he thinks that Cornel West is having a boomer moment and he doesn't know about this party. Jesus.
Is a good person, but he never Googled the People's Party like we did. This is really, really fucking racist. I mean, this is really racist. I mean, can you believe this? They're trying to tell us that Cornel West doesn't know what party he's running on. You think Cornel West hasn't heard all the garbage they've thrown at Nick Brana? I mean,
Thank you for saying that, Caleb. Exactly. Do people actually think that Cornel West is just stupid? Boy, I tell you.
This is shocking to me. Right? And these are the same people that are always, they're so woke, everyone's racist. These folks, they're saying that Cornel West is too stupid to know what party he's running for president on. It's a boomer moment. He just doesn't know. I mean, this is holy shit.
He was
Now let's pretend it was Marianne. You see the problem? Okay.
Approached and, hey, we want you to run and be our candidate or whatever, which by the way is a whole separate question because usually the way these things...
And he was approached, some bad people walked up to good Cornel, who we love, we totally love, we don't hate.
You mean the same way they approached Marianne? Publicly on stream?
And some bad people walked up to him and manipulated him into running for office. They tricked him. He would never have done this. He's a good guy. He's a good person, but some bad people tricked Cornel into running against the Democrats. Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Is you have a fucking primary to determine who your candidate is going to be, and the People's Party apparently just anoints somebody, which is
the same way you guys just anointed Marianne Williamson. The same way, I'm sorry here, the same way the DNC anoints people, which is the party that you support. Is this serious? Like, I can't take these people seriously. Because let me show you something. Okay. Look at this. All right. Look. Now, these were some of the speakers. This is the People's Party convention in 2020. I'm taking you back. Okay. I'm taking you back. There was Danny Glover. There was Nina Turner, Ryan Knight, Jimmy Dore, there's Mike Gravel, there's Dr. West, and whoop, there's Marianne Williamson. Sabby never forgets. I didn't forget this. So I just want to say that what is this, the real problem here? Because also in that video, they go on to say, Kyle says, well, you know, if he ran through the Green Party, it would make more sense because the Green Party is more viable. I'm like, after I listened to you shit on the Green Party for years, after I listened to you shit on third parties for years, now all of a sudden you're okay with saying the Green Party is more viable. Maybe he should have done it that way. Bullshit. If Dr. West would have ran through the Green Party, you would have this same criticism because he's not running through the Democratic Party. Just call it what it is. You guys are Democrats. Just say that. Let's stop trying to pretend this is something different. I didn't have time to play the whole video, but also in that video, Crystal goes on and mentions some outside, if you're going to do an outside thing, maybe something like DSA. DSA is an organization. DSA is not another party, a third party. It is an organization that promotes and props up and runs progressive candidates through the Democratic Party. Like, they're not even trying to get it right. And I don't even want to hear about the viability because they know damn well Marianne Williamson has no chance of winning. They know that. But they need that to happen. They need to have that candidate running on the progressive side through the Democratic Party because that's what supports their brand. And DSA is not what it used to be. They can't even keep members. Now, it's really interesting to have that criticism. I don't want to make this all about them, but I want to point out something because originally, Justice Democrats, there was supposed to be support for third party. Let's go down to ideology and issues. If you're new, you probably have not seen this on my channel yet. So this talks about Kyle and Jink when they started Justice Democrats. This piece right here, most of these things never happened, by the way, but this piece right here, I want everyone to pay attention. Implementing instant runoff voting nationwide in an effort to make third party and independent candidates more viable. That was a part of Justice Democrats. And that piece was never implemented because it was more difficult to do. They didn't want to work hard, so they went with the easier option. Just a reminder for you folks. Just a little reminder. But obviously, there is the question about the People's Party because people are like, they're not on the ballot, that kind of thing. Yes, that is an issue. Dr. West will be here Thursday. I will ask him about that. My assumption, and I could be wrong, but my assumption is that he is probably an independent, but he has to attach himself to a party because some states you have to have party affiliate. Like, for example, New York State. For New York State, you have to sign a party. I think this is a newer issue with New York. Lucy and I were talking about this. So it could be that maybe he attached himself to People's Party because of places like New York where you have to have a party. So it could just be that. I don't know. Dr. West will be here Thursday. When he's here Thursday, I'll ask him about all of this. But it's hilarious to me, man. I saw all the infiltrators and trolls just coming out of the woodwork. People I ain't seen tweet on Twitter in about months, all of a sudden just coming out and be like, how dare you, Dr. West? I can't believe you. I'm disappointed. Ben Dixon, all these people coming out and say, how could you do this? How could you da-da-da-da? You're giving the election to Donald Trump. You're giving the campaign to so-and-so. These are Democrats doing this, not Republicans. It's hilarious. So I just, look, it is what it is. Dr. West, you can see his campaign platform. What just happened? Okay, sorry. You can see his campaign here. Policies: create true democracy, get money out of politics, and ban corporate lobbying. Revitalize the economy. This is where he talks about housing, education, living wage, Medicare for all. Of course, that's a no-brainer. We knew that one was going to be there. In the wars. So this is what I'm saying. The people who are like, no, Marianne don't have the, in the wars, expand civil liberties, guarantee equal rights to all American, end surveillance, the drug war, mass incarceration, break up big tech. For those of you who are against what big tech is doing, and protect the environment, remove oil and gas subsidies, drilling on public lands, and invest in clean energy. I mean, this is a no-brainer, people. It's a no-brainer. Now, he'll be here Thursday, so we'll talk to him about it more. But it's really funny to me, man. It's really funny, the people coming out of the woodwork and just like, how dare you, Dr. West? I can't believe it. Why aren't you running as a Democrat? Because the party's fucked up. Because as much as we've talked about building a third party movement, you're not going to build anything if you don't actually take the first step. Nothing's happening. The Green Party's got some crazy shit going on. And if they run Howie again, I hate to say I told you so. Just keeping it real. I have my issues with the People's Party. I still think Nick Brana needs to just remove himself from that altogether. But we can talk about that Thursday, and we can talk about what the plan is and what the strategy is. But it's really interesting to me. People are like, how dare he run in this party? This party is corrupt, and the Democratic Party is not. Don't let me give you the side eye. Don't let me give you the side eye. All right, we are going to do call in. Let me go ahead and show that poll, Eric. Let's go to that. This will be interesting. All right, thank you for the poll. 1,057 votes. Who would you vote for in 2024? Well, Joe Biden, I hope you look at it. Joe Biden, I hope you are looking at this. 2% said Joe Biden. 31% said RFK Jr. Marianne Williamson, 2%. And 66% said Cornel West. I hope all of them see this poll. Don't know what to tell you there, but that's that.